last night, if someone left them, I was going to put them on the table.
Hello. Sorry, let me get everything situated. Can everyone hear me okay? Good. Alright, I think I have everything now. This is a great turnout. Thank you all for your patience as we got the seats sorted and we congregated here. I encourage you to stay afterward and say hello to some of the Disney writers who might be around, and to pick up a book if you like. Not mine necessarily, but books by my lovely colleagues as well. Today I'll be reading a few poems. The first is from my book, Deed. You can see here, I think there are a couple of copies left over there, which came out in 2019. And because I know I have my honors college students here, I thought I would read a poem that kind of corresponds a little bit to what we've been talking about in class. In the Penelope ad, we talked about how the afterlife becomes an imaginative experience, an imaginative experiment, and we can imagine what the afterlife could look like. This poem is called, very simply, The Dead. The dead ask me which births are most important. I smooth the grass. Its accidental reverence I don't repeat. What happens where they are happens again and again, like inclement weather in an artery. If you snuff yourself out, there will be no scentless farms to overlook again. There will be nothing in the rut. You'll keep loading the same shadowy men with your own wishes, expecting them to see the sky as you. Hey, no sun. Just sight departing and departing like a kingfisher's beak in the sea's humdrum conversation. This one fact, which is your life and time, is meant to be vocal, so why haven't you slipped your thumb into something you're afraid of? Beside, they said to fear, and alone. Why haven't you trembled at the bristling animal inside you? Haven't you touched the chest of a Christ and offered to harm him first? Oh, death, the old noir, red raincoat and gray vellum, glossy screen trapped as ripples in the custard. The dead tell me the markets are flowering there. There are snapping flags and salted rabbit. Prayers written on the inside of teacups you buy to blind you after you've had your fill. You know the drill. Lonely man walks into an alley of thought looking to be hollowed. This is the realm of the market just past the flaming pink onions, where the shadows won't speak to you. You pick the one that looks most like you. You step in, fold your clothes before, then after, and step out. Is 2:17 on a Friday too early for death?
Never too early for death.
All right, well good, because the next one I'm reading is equally as light. I've been writing a collection of poems about my mother and my brother's death, and it's kind of an extended elegy, an experiment in remembrance. So how do you remember the people who are gone? Because the stories we tell ourselves become our realities. Not only the stories we tell ourselves, but about other people. And so this one is called Mother Down the Drain. Mother Down the Drain. In the fractals of grief, I thought that grief must be my subject. It spread everywhere. dripped from dew on the tile. I forgot to wash myself, my eyes clean from grief like pollen sifting everywhere, in the bronchi. In my trimble at Rite Aid eucalyptus wash, I spread over tiles of skin, sloughing off memory. Ounces of tainted milk from your nipple I coughed up as a babe. Even the word you was grief, deciding what to name this deadlock in my lung. A domino tile I slurped, maybe, instead of you, who were bitter milk made lovingly. Today's the 1st of May. I blew cheap cinnamon across the threshold of my front door to keep the gone you out and the good you in mind, so I have only one to grieve. The milk's gone off. Poor mother down the sink. The shame. Grief's clogged the drain. You are very polite, but you don't have to, unless you want, clap after every poem. We're going to take this off. Nope, we're going to keep it there. All right, so for the last couple of poems I'll read, these are an excerpt from my book that will be coming out in June. Part of it was written while I was living in Spain and traveling to Germany and sort of imagining what home looks like away from home. And then it was almost like every time I tried to return to the United States, I would just end up going back to where I lived in Spain. So this is from the end of the book, the last section. And it's kind of weird because it's pretty much a book poem and you're getting part of the ending. Last week I escaped to Germany, not home yet, though my name's an anglicization of the old puppet republic. I lied to the Belgian woman mansplaining escalators to me in the train station and told her I was Spanish, pulled by the strings like a dollar store marionette. Not the stairs, that's the stairs, she said, begging for a god and one to snap me free. I hadn't left the Iberian Peninsula in a year and a half. It had gotten to the point that everyone's small preoccupations involved me. I'd grow turbulent in the sweat from a new leather anklet that the bartender told me he bought cheap. Warring gray swans by the hot springs asked me to mediate the conflict. I knew who tithed more, and therefore I had a better say. I'd become less real, a watery stitch in the presence unbuttoning watershed. I wanted a way back to somewhere, so I began to forget. There's a fly on the wall. If I wait a few more hours to eat, will I suffer a vision without meat in it, without men in it? Who's there dangling his lashes over the body packed and preserved? There's a word on your face. Outside the train window, pigment falls from the trees to the furrows, flattening the crop optic as lines swayed that a finger brushed and darkened. There's a bullet in your hair. The aisle makes me sneeze. In this country, the men smell like bodies packed full of pungent blossoms and oils to take into the next life. Boulders flash past the glass and for a second erase my face. As of yet, I've seen no one acting beautiful here. To my left, a makeshift forest appears from flat nothing, each vertical trunk's thin as a cut, placed equidistant from the next. The trees are afraid of touch, of newness, of leaning towards someone and feeling then no center. Toppling, I can see the architect's intent. The lapping dapple between each trunk is meager glue, fixing the family together in light. Someone 2 rows ahead is lisping the name of Jesus in Galatian to make the point I missed because the trees in 3s, then 1 and 1, M. I should have mentioned this is written while I was in a train. So some of these quotations, like there's a word on your face and there's a bullet in your hair, were things I was hearing people say. And this is the last little section. Still in the train, by the way. Along the banks of the Rio Minho, the water forks out below the lip of the bank like a rhizome. It bursts in rivulets of mineral hot springs the locals have adorned to resemble Japanese spas. Leave unchanged the young man who scorches his gums when he opens his mouth below the surface. He's trying to communicate, to talk to the earth in its liquid privacy before it leaves. Water from earth has no container to serve as genre. Is voice a violin when it's removed from its box? The water's forgotten its history. The man looking at the water has forgotten his memory. The water's a chorus that manages to travel. Its able blue flows through the man and his rootlessness. He's floating half below the surface, so water is his mouth and his mouth is water. He's happy to speak to you this way, below the steaming ripple, about what he remembers. Thank you all.
Thanks, Justin, for kicking us off with a super strong reading. Next, I just wanted to say thanks to our Meacham Stoneworks Fellow who was here from Big ATL, Andrea Yurjevec, she's in the back. She gave a stunning reading last night, and I hope that you will maybe check out her books of poetry that she brought here too. As well as Dr. Karen Mabine and Andrew Notchberg, who's last night also had incredible readings. You missed a great evening if you weren't there. All right, next is Chris Horton, is the author of Alchemy. Her second collection, Everyday Omens, is forthcoming from Sheila Nagig Editions in the spring. So hopefully we'll be celebrating that one of the next upcoming Meachams. Wharton teaches writing at the University of Tennessee here, and some of you may have had her as a teacher, and for teens and adults in the community. She's a former assistant director of the Meacham Writers Workshop, and she's always been a great supporter of Meacham and just a big help. So please welcome Chris Horton.
Hello, thanks for coming out. Thanks, Sybil, and all the support people. So I'm going to read a couple of pieces from Alchemy, and then I'll veer off into a few other random pieces. Justin read sort of an elegy to his mother, so I thought I'd start with an elegy to a friend of mine who died in 2020, and I still have this little container of ashes in my drawer at home, and I talk about that in the poem. So she's in my mind every time I open my desk drawer. There's the little container that I haven't come to terms with quite yet. This is called After All. Grace's ashes reside in a thimble-sized container inside a small covered trinket dish. She wanted to be broadcast in a place she'd never been, or a place she loved. Now she's tucked away like the tiniest Matryoshka doll. Setting her alight makes my heart clench. Some parts will land, others will find leaf tops, riverbeds, Some will drift to space, to that place of no sound, no light between the stars and planets, vastness too large for my brain. Sending her into nothingness scares me. Ending up as nothingness scares me. All of my parts alight, minstrel particles of brain and bone that we spread across a glacier. No body to mourn, no sure place forever. Once a glacier, a lake, then rain, mist, air. Instead of cremation, I want to be the person found in the snowbank, parka unzipped, eyes closed, and face peaceful. Or better yet, smiling. There on a mountainside, Everest, say, or somewhere in Antarctica, Siberia, even Pluto. If I could travel all those miles or light years before death comes to me, before nothing becomes nothingness forever. That's a little bit of a downer, but maybe not. Not sure. This next one is a poem I wrote for my mother. We had this old family farm. It was my great-grandfather's farm, and when he died, unfortunately, my grandmother and her siblings sort of fought over the property, as sometimes happens, and so we literally lost the farm. But this is a memory, or a series of memories I have from it when I was growing up. It's called The Last Summer. From the unlocked and pulled open door, the close, musty air poured out of Gramps' country house, like warm molasses kept in a jar. We stepped back for a moment, my brothers and I, then filtered in, one by one, touching doorknobs, cracked countertop, chair back, smooth oak top table. And in the same way we had watched you every time before, we breathed in slowly, collecting our memories from the dense old air, damp and from rainy winter nights and long months of thick silence, eased only by the mice living in the kitchen hutch and nesting in forgotten armchairs stashed in the corners of rooms. We left you in the kitchen as we chose beds, calling mine, and ran from room to room, our water skipper hands skimming across the walls. Our eyes barely saw the age-darkened portraits of faces we never knew. The whole of outside awaited us while you unpacked. That first day, we searched for close-to-home secrets in the closest oak's hollowed-out center, in the dusty, broken tools of the corner shed, until we wanted more, something further from the house, something farther from the sprawling, faded yellow house. Crossing the yard through grass that snapped and bit at our ankles, a forgotten dull green of late, dry August, the maples and oaks seemed to tremble in the quiet air. Free from the sight of the house, from the chance for your voice to call us back, we ran the old path through the woods, sloping gently, pulling us along toward the lake, the dock, to that one point of going out or coming back. Through a clearing in the trees, the lake lay below us, almost white, the flat sky reflected in the quiet waiting water. Each step brought us closer, until standing on that dock, it seemed I had never been there before, never seen that exact white glare, the secret green of water that always before was blue. So Sybil mentioned I have a new collection coming out in the spring, and I thought I'd just read two pieces from that. The collection's called Everyday Omens, and this first piece, the first piece is sort of a tribute. I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, and I grew up in the 70s and had all the freedoms that were part of growing up in that time where your mother basically just sent you outside and closed the doors and said, don't come home till dark, and don't let anything happen to your brother. And so my older brother and younger brother and I roamed probably like wild animals. So this is about an adventure. It's called At the Edge. Beyond our house, a landscape of edges, tract homes, an empty lot, blacktop fading into shoulder-high grass, a creek's whisper. My brothers and I discovered a trailer, abandoned, sky blue skin, surrounded by Russian olives, green and silver-sided. The trailer's broken windows mirrored my own hollow wanting to be gathered close, held, allowed to stay home with my mother. Instead, we were sent into vastness. Each day, we visited the rusted shell, crept closer, its emptiness a language I was learning to translate. No arms pulled me back from the darkness I felt between grass and sky. A brother on each side, their hands in mine, the only certainty. Years later, houses replaced the edges, the fields where we learned the language of absence, learned to leave home. And then one other piece from Everyday Omens, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's called A Strange Relief. Let go the grandfather who snapped his fingers at you instead of asking for the salt or extra mashed potatoes because you weren't worth words. Let go his preference for your brother. Instead of letting him see the hurt on your face, show him a side of the moon anyone unremarkable might see. Let go the father who tried to grow you with his words. Stand up straight, comb your hair, don't walk so loudly through the house. The father who thought any words explaining a wrongdoing were simply an excuse. You haven't seen a storm in his eyes for almost 40 years, but let go the way it cut you. Fill your pockets with apple blossoms. Make your own golden rules. There's no need to be the bearer of quicksand grudges, no sense in remembering. Let the memories fall away from your body, mute as stones. So the final piece I thought I'd read, I'm working on a new project, and it's maybe a little early to tell what it is exactly, but it's hybrid and it's some short essays. My husband and I used to do a lot of endurance running, and we still do some, but I had an injury some years ago that sort of changed the way I approach movement through the world. So the collection focuses on running, but also injury and travel and reclaiming the self. In this piece, I reference Randy, and he's my husband, who I ran and run with the most. This is called When I Hear Wolves. We've run about 75 miles of the 100-mile trail race in northern Minnesota when I hear the wolves. They sound far away, but I imagine they can cover distances much faster than we can. And unlike us, they don't make mistakes, day or night. It's so easy to make mistakes when you've been awake and moving for over 20 hours. I peer into the shadowy forest, the black that is just beyond my flashlight, and then shift my focus to the trail again, trying to keep my thoughts on what is in front of me. The specters of trees just beyond the lighted trail, the odd shapes of roots snaking below our feet. I look at my watch, but the face is too fuzzy to read, And I can't remember when we left the last aid station. And an aid station is a place where runners stop to get food and water and whatever they need as they move across the course. That's when I realize I'm not fully awake. In between or during my mental wanderings, I've been sneaking in naps. Even now I am counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps of forward motion before I open my eyes to check the trail. Some part of my brain recognizes that if I look far enough ahead and see that the trail is mostly clear, I can keep going forward. Randy hasn't spoken since we left the last aid station, and although I feel him behind me, I realize something about his energy has changed. "Are you awake?" I ask. He is silent. "Wake up, talk to me," I say, and he mumbles. I am struggling to keep my eyes open when I realize we aren't on the course anymore. "Stop," I say. I lurch forward another step as though someone has let go of me. I don't know when I saw the last course marker. I turn around, see his pale face and closed eyes. My heart stumbles. My lungs feel devoid of air. "I think we're lost," I say. "Did we turn?" Randy asks, eyes now open, and I tell him we did. He asks if I'm sure. I try to remember and say, "Yes, I think so." We spend a few minutes searching close by, shining our handheld flashlights up and down the trail, and all around us searching for limp plastic ribbons hanging from branches or shrubs. Nothing. "Shit, shit, shit," I say under my breath. "We'll find it," Randy says. I believe him, because the alternative is too much to think about. Often, runners keep going when they don't find a marker. This is one of the paradoxical manifestations of hope. Runners who get off course believe if they keep going, they will miraculously end up where they need to be. That they simply haven't run far enough, when in fact, they are running in the wrong direction. Neither of us hesitate as we do the smart thing and turn around. We both take a drink from our water bottle and reach for a snack in our waist pack. With luck, both will help us wake up a bit. We make our way back over the steps we recently took, and with each one, I feel more certain we are truly lost, that we are somehow headed in the wrong direction altogether. "I heard wolves before," I say. Randy asks if I was awake when I heard them. I tell him I was, that I am sure I was awake, but we still haven't seen a trail marker and my certainty fades. I'm about to say we should stop, but what would the point be? We have to go somewhere. Let it be in the right direction, I think. Let it be away from the wolves. I don't want to imagine being hunted through the woods only to be circled by a pack who knows exactly where they are. I'm grappling with this when Randy says, "There's one." We step closer to it and reach out to touch it, wanting to be sure. We're at a faint intersection. The trail we were originally on before we turned joins from our right. The way we need to go is straight ahead. When we step back on the trail we're supposed to be on and look where we've come from, I can't fathom how I made the mistake. It's so obviously not the way to go that I wonder if I was completely asleep on my feet and not just closing my eyes. Randy squeezes my hand and says, "Let's keep going," and I laugh. He has dark circles under his eyes, but I know he is strong and he will follow me if I lead him. And then, when I am too tired again, I can follow him. The energy between us as we move again is alert, awake, watchful. Now I know every route, every rock, every climb and descent, every course marking as we move toward the aid station filled with hope we are on the right course. As I run, I listen for the wolves. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I'm super excited about this new hybrid collection, so thanks for giving us a sneak peek of that. And last we have Alex Quinlan. Is a practicing poet and professor. He holds degrees from Washington University and Florida State University. He's an associate lecturer in the English department where he teaches courses in creative writing and literature. And I just want to say that in addition to being a very talented and insightful poet, Alex has just been at the heart of our student community here at UTC with Catherine Quinlan running the Creative Writing Club, which is, if you don't go to that, I really recommend that you do that, join that club, and just being such a great part of our creative writing community, also through I want to say Live, Laugh, Love, but that's not it.
It's called the Writers Collective now.
Yeah, so it's another community here at UTC that he works with also. So I just really appreciate all the work he does, and I know his students do too. So please welcome Alex Quinlan.
Awesome. All right, great. So, thank you all for being here and for supporting your poor professors, right, as we get up here and do our song and dance. A lot of people, they kind of mass produce their poems these days, right? Because you can just kind of like put a little prompt in and it just pops right out. You don't even have to type it. But that kind of floods the market, I think, and drives down the value. So this one's a custom job, right? It's bespoke. It's written just for you. Before I do that, Natalie? Is Natalie here? How about Jay? Okay, I just had to do a little work here, right? Because it's these little attendance taking, right? So just making sure I didn't miss anyone. No, Natalie. Oh, okay. Well, that's a shame. We'll have to fill her in on what she's missed. Okay, good. All right. So back to the regularly scheduled program, folks. So like a lot of handmade things, this poem has some flaws to it. So just get ready, right? It's not perfect. In fact, in Japan, they call this wabi-sabi, right? It's like it's the flaw that perfects the otherwise merely beautiful, right? When I was a kid, a lot of people thought the most beautiful woman in the world was named Cindy Crawford, and she had a mole right here on her cheek. But they decided that rather than doing cosmetic surgery, it'd be a lot easier just to rebrand it, and so they started calling it a beauty mark, right? Wabi-sabi, right? So if I mess up, it's just just part of perfection, right? In progress. Now, there may be a flaw that you find that I can't fix. There's a couple words in here that you cannot say in Sunday school, so just be prepared for that. It's going to happen. And all I will say in my defense is what Van Gogh said, which is, there is no blue without yellow and without orange. I got to use the whole palette here, folks, to make this thing happen. So what do you do, right? And in fact, that is the name of the poem. So let's bring it, right? The poem is called What Do You Do? And Syl did a great job of introducing me, but she left one sentence off of my little bio, which is that this reading is dedicated to my students, many of whom I see in this room, right? I have no idea why they might be here, right? So thank you all for teaching me. What do you do? Just one poem. Everybody here looks like they just jumped through the screen of an Instagram account with 1 million followers. But then again, they let me in. So at least there's a little variety, a little blemish on the guest list that wabi-sabi style perfects the otherwise merely beautiful. The thin vein of gold filling the crack in the cup where otherwise the tea would get out and the light would get in, only in reverse. I am a plug of clay in the glittering chalice of this evening. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I'm having a good time at the cocktail party. But then again, isn't one of the hallmarks of fun that you don't have to wonder whether you're having it? When a woman gliding down from her perch at a high top on the veranda catches me in the talons of her glance, and within 5 seconds asks, "And what do you do?" As though it isn't perfectly obvious, from my rumpled cotton button-down to the dingy soles of my sneakers, tattered laces hanging down their sides, that I am the rainbow trout to her osprey. And whatever comes from my mouth will never be enough to stop her from taking me back to her nest to devour, or dropping me back into the stream of people passing through her life, where she found me, drowning. Since I'm dead either way, I decide to say for once the truth. I make poems. And she says, "Where are you from? The 19th century?" And I cough and say, "Sorry, just a touch of consumption." "What was that?" And she laughs, but she's in the middle of taking a sip of champagne, so the bubbles come frothing out of her nostrils in little rivulets that sparkle under the ballroom lights. I grab her a napkin, and by now we have both dissolved into hysterics, laughing so hard our eyes water, so hard our sides are quilted with stitches. And stranded in a tidal pool of empty space, we hang on to one another to steady ourselves. And it really is ridiculous, isn't it? Making art nobody wants, or nobody wants enough to pay for it when there are mouths to feed. And everybody knows what Adorno said, that after Auschwitz, writing a poem high isn't just an eccentric pastime, it's downright barbaric to maintain the charade that beauty is truth, truth, beauty, when the truth is manifestly otherwise. "I don't like sad things," she says, and who can blame her? Is it some sort of requirement for poems to be sad? It's ridiculous, isn't it? For a person to be so effortlessly beautiful on a Friday night for no reason at all. To be the kind of woman who changes the way that band plays when she walks out onto the dance floor, as she, taking me by the hand, does. She'd been going to tango classes for the past 6 years, she said, giving my shoulder a squeeze, so she could make it look like I was leaving. And I say, just wait until they play some Grateful Dead. And bombs are dropping on hungry children in a hospital somewhere right now. But here, her laughter trills like the song of a rare and golden-voiced forest bird, small and fierce, cousin to the thrush, once thought extinct, but later discovered to be secretly thriving, far from the prying gaze of all but the most intrepid bird watchers. So maybe not all is lost. Maybe you don't know the steps exactly, but what do you do? The music is already playing. Might as well just cut a goddamn rug and hope that Trick Me isn't acting up tonight. A little joke that likes to play that gives new meaning to pop and lock. And maybe there are a few close calls along the way, but by the end, I can hang in there with it, for the most part. Pure poetry, she says, glistening and breathless, a wink in her smile as we stride off the parquet. And isn't it true that even though nobody has the time to read it these days, after all, don't our social media feeds unspool endlessly, defying fate? I'm sure some of you are keeping up with them right now. We still see poetry everywhere. And not just in advertisements for the finer things in life, but let me tell you something. A thing of beauty is a joy forever is a line that removes some fucking tennis bracelets. And in describing displays of rare skill and talent, and in other domains like sports and music, chess and fly fishing, bird watching, and the simple ritual of making a good cup of tea. In fact, just the other day, I saw an electric performance car on the road called Lyric. Only it was spelled with a Q, so Lyric. So cool. Anyway, I must admit, it screams through traffic like it had a St. Vincent Millay sign. Compact and flashy, with plenty of oomph where it counts. But like this poem, it looks like it can go on forever. So effortless, so smooth, full of juice. It roars to life every time you step inside it. In her day, Millay would read through crowds of thousands without the aid of a microphone. A massive voice boomed foaming out of her slender frame and off the rafters and every trembling body beneath them. Even her detractors agreed. Her power was electric. She would have been able to shut down even the most formidable freshening smoothie machine, one with a speed dial that goes to 11, one that drinks its own protein shakes for breakfast, then does Ironman training, one that does those power handshakes where you crank the other person's wrist so that the palm faces up, and you know, and they know that you are trying to bully them. But what do? Well, you could always read a poem. Hey, why not this one? I mean, we're almost through with it already, and let's be honest, I'm doing most of the hard work. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind it. Plus, it counts towards your class participation, department service. Why not stay? And don't worry, this isn't one of those sad poems, nothing against them, and it isn't stingy either. It has, as you might say, plenty of meat on the bone. But what about sadness? There's a well inside each of us that is as deep as it is dark. And just to catch a glimpse of the reflection on the water, you have to lean your whole body out into its mouth, almost so far that you fall. And you know if you do, that's it. There's no rope long enough to pull you back up. No ear sharp enough to hear so faint an echo of a cry. But still, my musician friend said he knew his wife was the one he wanted to spend the rest of his life with when she told him, the Smiths are the only thing that got me through living in Nutbush. I'd crawl under the trailer with my Walkman and listen to The Queen is Dead until the batteries ran out. What do you do? I mean, the job of living seems like it's asking just a little bit more than you can give. What do you do? I'll tell you what they did at my old friend Billy O'Dwyer Bob's village outside of Dublin, where there were so many O'Dwyers who had to tack on your grandfather's familiar name to tell everybody apart, because no good can come from confusing an O'Dwyer Stephen from an O'Dwyer Owen. As they would pass each other in the street or wait together for the bus at the butcher's counter where the cuts are a bit thinner than they were last week, they make a little game out of trying to put a smile on each other's face. Did you see Father O'Leary at Mass? Seems he got lost on the way from Saturday to Sunday morning. Took him till 3 a.m. to find his way out the pub door. Who knew the power of a joke better than Ovid? Whose idle crack about the emperor and cocktail party, legend has it, cost him exile on a rocky island in the Black Sea. Apparently, Augustus didn't get the joke, or he couldn't take it. Sound familiar? Ovid decided to call the book he wrote there Tristia, or The Sorrows. Reader, he writes, if you will find fault with my books, and you will, accept my excuse. This time when they were written. And who can't relate to that? I look for solace, lest my mind become too absorbed with misfortune, he says. That's why the man who draws flexed oars to his chest, together, striking a rhythm with his arms as he beats the water, sings. Mist and fog off the prow of the ship, spit of wind-driven sea spray, the resinous scent of the pitch-sealed hull, the braid of the rigging rope twining like a story. That woman at the cocktail party was right. Poetry is what happens between people. When something as ordinary as speaking words or moving your body is transformed into a purpose that, while it may have some larger end in mind, like attaining the affections of the beloved or the communion of souls in accord about their own basic nature, it becomes an end in itself. Like making a great big meal for no reason at all, except that you have the time and the ingredients. But it's simply too much for you alone to eat, and too delicate to keep. So you call your friend, who brings over a bottle of wine, and the night unfolds in the ordinary way, except that it is now enchanted by the world of talk the two of you conjure together while you share the sacrament of each other's company. Here you are. It is just past midnight. The air is cool and the night outshines you with its radiance. The string lights in the alley dazzle and turn gauzy in the corner of your eye, which is looking elsewhere, down the street or up at the moon, wondering if what you feel is anything at all like what Coleridge, sitting up late at night watching his infant son in the cradle beside him and trying to soothe his own appeasable nerves, imagined that son would feel when, years later, he stepped out under the open sky in a place far from the soot and sewage of the city for a breath of cool air. Now, you're not a loud one, but that gummy your friend gave you was not from the candy store. And that second craft cocktail is starting to kick in as a couple of street racers squeal off at the green light, and you can hear the little explosions from the kick drum as the band playing down by the river comes back out for an encore, and you're holding hands, looking not at each other, no, way better than that. You look at each other later. Now, you're looking in the same direction. Anything could happen next. What do you do? Thank you. Very much. See you later.
Thanks, Alex. That was a great ending to our new reading. So these are all professors at UTC, take their classes. Those of you who are thinking of applying to UTC in our creative writing program, you got a little flavor of who you might have. So I hope that I hope you had a great time, and I hope to see you at some future events. So thanks for coming out. Hello.
If you are a student and you have not yet signed in, here is the clipboard to sign in on. I'll put it right here on the podium.
So guys, we're going to hang out for a
So the one that I picked up, I got to reread it. Thank you so much. And so I've been doing it a lot on my podcast. So it really excited me.
They said actually that's the thing.
What's my brother? She's in Meacham.
I got lost.
My name is Julie.
But I want like go on. I'm gonna ask you this. I don't mean this like like you have to name these everyone has a flaw in their personality. So I don't call you what you say from is negative personality. Like an attitude.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me shoot it.
I'm just trying to come up with ideas and then hey!
I mean, this is lovely. I'm happy to not to this experience. Did you arrive at French Cheers?
We have to sign in. I don't know where to sign in. Oh, hey. All right. Why is it $20?
Because there are very few of them left.
I got it.
Yeah, first collections of poetry, it's pretty much out of print. So that's why I actually did $20.
Thank you for your reading. With Julie here who brought the student writing class from CSLA.
CSLA, what does that stand for?
Chattanooga School for Liberal Arts. So public magnet school. The sister school of CSAS, which is just the public. My kids go.
Yeah, I'm still not super familiar. They don't know like what sounds.
Right. Single mentioned you're from West Virginia.
Outside of St. Albans.
I do not. My wife's family, both her parents are from there. Back in Pineville.
Yeah, so I'm not too far away from there. I'm in, forget it. This is what we have to do. So this is West Virginia.
Okay.
Right here. Yeah, so the southwestern part of the state. Close to Charleston. Used to go to Beckley all the time. I played in sports.
Okay.
Bible not too much. That's a Bible. So not too much about
I knew you were on a train before you said it, so it comes across as just the language.
So I read through the book that's coming out. And it's, you never really know how much context you have to give. I'm glad that was all.
Yeah, the statements you were hearing from conversations, I didn't know that part. I thought maybe the first one, not the word in here, but leave a word on your face. I thought what I pictured was someone looking through a train window, maybe like someone scribbling a word on the window.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was also because I was listening to Spanish information, I speak Spanish, I speak Haitian, and then I was also translating all those things. So like, they probably didn't say it, but that's what I heard.
My students last year had them walk through the school halls and write down and walk by classrooms and in session, just write down. And we came back and said, okay, we got those words to write home.
I'm not teaching you. Prose section, I have them eavesdropping on words, so they know what agencies are. Eavesdropping on people, and like you can put yourself on time. I'm like actually recording what they're saying to get together and speech.